Senators Marsha Blackburn and Tom Tillis are taking action. They have now introduced the Safe and Open Streets Act, and they did that late last year. Now it's getting a huge push and a direct response. It is now to these anti-Israel protests. And it aims to, quote, establish a criminal penalty for interfering with commerce by blocking public roads. We've needed this for some time. Now we desperately need it. Senator Blackburn of the great state of Tennessee, member of the Judiciary Committee, joins me now. You are always a little bit of a step ahead. Every state is a border state. That was from you like 2 years ago. And now we've got a situation where you could almost see this coming, and we need legislation. What does that look like, and how do you think it'll go?
Yes, the Safe and Open Streets Act is something that is getting attention because it would put in place fines and up to 5 years in prison for people that willfully block these streets. And Harris, you're exactly right. Going onto a bridge, blocking ports, blocking airports, not allowing people to get to their work, and closing down interstates. This is not safe. It certainly impedes safety of the traveling public. It impedes commerce. These individuals need to be arrested, and there need to be stiffer penalties for this. It is shameful that groups connected to George Soros continue to do this. It is shameful that websites like Act Blue continue to raise money to embolden people who are purposely, intentionally trying to endanger the traveling public.
Look, it's a bigger issue than, and you and I are talking about the danger. Can you imagine if you're having a medical emergency inside of your car? This happens all the time for people, unfortunately. It doesn't have to be the ambulance with a siren. Something has gone wrong and you need to get to an urgent clinic. You need to get someplace. Maybe you're on parole, and if you're out too long, I mean, these are all realities, and you're stuck somewhere for hours and hours and hours, as they were on the West Coast and the Golden Gate. I mean, people have lives. Whether these protesters have them, I don't know. But look, I mentioned what they do down in Florida, according to the communications director for Governor Ron DeSantis. We've got that video now. The caption for this is, in Florida, we drag these people out of the road and arrest them. And that's what they have been doing. I mean, states now, again, Senator, are left to do a job that they have to do because the federal government just says, what's going on?
Yes, you're exactly right. And again, the states are picking up the slack. Local law enforcement is picking up the slack.
Yes.
And that is why issues affecting immigration and border security and public safety, you see us, different members of the Senate bringing forward legislation that gives power and authority to these local and state authorities because the federal government is not doing their job and the public is being endangered because of some of this activity. So we're continuing to push on this issue, whether it is the Safe and Open Streets Act, whether it is dealing with the different immigration issues, the CLEAR Act I have that allows local and state authorities to secure their border when the federal government is not securing that border.
And we're going to get into that right now. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas began the day testifying before the same committee that led to his House impeachment earlier this year over the border crisis. And we're looking now on Capitol Hill at that. We don't see Mayorkas. He spoke earlier. He's facing some stark criticisms right out of the gate. Watch this.
You refuse to comply with the laws passed by Congress, and you've breached the public trust. You facilitated and encouraged record levels of illegal immigration since your first day in office. And we've all witnessed the devastating results of your open borders agenda.
And just hours from now, House Republicans will deliver his 2 impeachment articles to the Senate after a delay last week. The big question now is what happens next. So I'm glad we have the senator with us. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson from earlier this morning.
Now we're transmitting it to the Senate, and we're demanding that Chuck Schumer have the full trial, that they hear the evidence, let us put it on for the American people, and then remove this individual from office. This desperate times call for desperate measures, and Secretary Mayorkas is, in my view, the worst cabinet secretary that has ever served in the history of the United States. It is a catastrophe that was committed by design. They allowed this.
So what will happen when it reaches your chamber in the Senate?
We are aware that Chuck Schumer is going to try to table the articles of impeachment. Previously, we have always moved to a trial, and it is important that we do that. The American people need to know that 9.4 million illegal aliens have crossed on Joe Biden's watch. You have somewhere between 1.7 and 2.5 million gotaways. That is your unknown and your known gotaways. You have hundreds of people from countries of interest. You have hundreds of terrorists. You have 25,000 Chinese that have entered this fiscal year already. And that is as many as came in last year. It's more than came in all of last year. Harris, there have to be answers for why these people are coming in. And we know it is because Joe Biden's border policy is an open border. Alejandro Mayorkas has done Joe Biden's bidding. He has been that foot soldier. He has lied to Congress. He has lied to the American people. He deserved the impeachment the House gave him. He should be tried. He should be removed from office.
Well, and when you and I first started talking about a possible impeachment for Secretary Mayorkas, we were focused on the 85,000 children who were being moved around the country that had come across our southern border that his department had lost track of. And those surreptitious flights that were going into states like Florida and Tennessee, dropping people off in the middle of the night, that sort of thing. So all of that has gone on under his watch, at his direction. We're watching all of it. I have to think, though, there'll be a replacement for Mayorkas who might wear the same shirt. Your last quick thought.
Yes, we know this administration does not intend to close the border. We know that they are trying to backfill population losses they have seen in these big blue states. We know that they would like to have a whole new host of voters, get them in here, register them to vote, and let them vote. This is why we're going to be focused on election integrity. It is why we are focused on giving the Border Patrol what they need to shut that border down. It is imperative for the safety of the American people. You look at the fentanyl, the drugs, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the crime, and their intent to backfill the population in these big blue states. It is wrong. It's not fair to the American people.
Well, and acknowledging that they will backfill the person who wears the same jersey as Biden's border crisis crew, Mayorkas, is important. So it's a bigger issue of who you vote for in November.
That's right.
Senator Blackburn, always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Good to be with you.